And then without further ado, I am passing the mic to one of my great friends. So let me just give a little pre-intro to each of them, because I'm so grateful that they hopped on this webinar with us today. Okay, so Monica said, she's live. Perfect. Take a screenshot, girl. Take a screenshot. Well, I met Njideka actually through our mutual client, and now we have a couple of mutual clients that I work with together. The reason why I invited Njideka onto the webinar today is because we just share a common vision, which is making sure that people who are on track to build generational wealth are equipped with the tools and resources that they need to thrive. So again, she's going to fit into more of the financial advisor role, but more importantly, I like working with financial advisors and attorneys that care about their clients in a little bit of an extra way, and she does. So it's been a pleasure meeting and working with you. She's so quick and so fast to respond and get things done, y'all. The best person that I worked with, I think, so far last year. She is so fast, and she's like a hot potato. Okay, here's that. I love it though, love it though. So here is Njideka. I will go ahead and give her her intro, and then you can come on and introduce yourself. So she has over a decade of experience in the financial world. In the world where less than 4% of financial advisors are of color, she was proud to launch Shifting the Culture Wealth Partners LLC, an independent registered investment advisory firm, to begin focusing on financial planning and wealth advisory services. Her coaching style can be described as where the heart of a teacher meets the mind of a business owner, meets the passion of a life coach. It is her belief that with the right strategy, ambitious professionals and business owners can become seriously wealthy and create more examples that our communities need to see for the culture, period. So, yes, I'll just leave it here.
Okay. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for just having me on. I sincerely appreciate it. And thank you I'm glad to see all the guests, all the people that are attending. Here to, man, you take a little midday break, to get some knowledge and get some nuggets. Hopefully I can definitely anticipate adding to what you guys are getting. So again, my name is Njideka. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm actually in Chicago now, though. Girl, I done a Cali girl to move to Chicago, and it's 30-something degrees degrees out here, but I'm here. Okay, that's what you do for love, boy. That's what you do for love. No, but I have been in the financial world for 12 years. You gotta have fun with this thing, right? But
this one life we gotta live.
Listen, okay. So I've actually been in the financial world for 12 years. My background is actually in the sciences. I am a Nigerian American, first generation Nigerian of the Igbo tribe. I know you talked about Yorubas earlier, but I'm Igbo, man. I'm Igbo, okay. As is, the culture. If you're not a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, something's wrong with you, right? And so that's the track that I was on to be a medical doctor. And so that's why my background is in the sciences. I also have a master's in public health. But I pivoted. And so one of the things that you'll hear from me during, my time speaking is I love to talk to first generation wealth builders, kind of similar to what Shania was saying. And I love to coach pivoters. I love to coach people and work with people that you started off doing one thing and you had the courage and boldness enough to say, I'm going to shift, because my heart is in that shift, is in that pivot. So I actually lived across the country when I was in grad school, in actually Philadelphia, came back to Cali. And when I moved back to California, I actually was in social justice. So I was a community organizer. I was a community organizer for about 4 years, And one of the things that was very clear during that time, which actually contributed to me shifting, is understanding when I worked in the nonprofit world. And so there's a lot of asking for funds, right? In that world, right? A lot of requesting funds from different funders, grant providers, and so forth. And so one thing I said was, people of color, we have to learn how to, build our own wealth so that we're not constantly asking other non-organizations of color to fund our work, right? To inform our work, to inform the things that we know that we need to do, right? As people who have grown up in it, lived it, and so forth. And so I realized how much social justice is tied to economic justice as well. And so that's partly where my shift happened. So I am a money and business coach. My main backing is in financial advising. One of the things that I learned was that, you know, talking about first generations, talking about pivoters, was that, you know, I come across, you know, I love to work with STEM professionals. So I will say that. So anybody that's in science, technology, engineering, and math, I mean, obviously my background as well. But what I learned is that making money, right, is one part of it. A lot of people want to start a business, but making money is one part of it. I've met 100 people who made, let's say, $150,000 in income, right? They're engineers, but they want to do something else. They want to pivot into a totally different industry, right? I've met people who bring in 240,000. 240,000 works in logistics, are straight hustlers, serial entrepreneurs, but they don't know what to do with their money. Right? People who make 400,000 might be a surgeon, but they have no tax strategy. They want to build a real estate portfolio, right? They hear all of the different, I call it sometimes noise that's on social media. I want to be doing that and I want to be doing that, but they have no goals. They have no life insurance. They have no retirement accounts. They have no retirement plan. They have none of those things in place. And so that's where I come in to say, hey, let's give some organization to this stuff. So I love working with Shania. Do I have control over the screen?
Oh, I can go. I got
Okay,
control.
cool. Thank you. I love working with Shania, but and to her point of the A team, because a lot of financial professionals, you know, at least the good ones, I mean, you know that listen, we all have our lanes, right? We all have our lanes. We all have our specialties. Taxation, that's not me, okay? That's her, right? And so that's CPAs like Shania. And so I may be a point of contact where you are making money. You need to understand your goals. You need to understand how to organize and manage your money. You are trying to figure out, man, what assets should I even be going towards? How do I grow my assets? How do I protect them? How do I get them distributed, you know, in case of something happens to me? So that's kind of what that's what goes into financial planning. So that's where I'm a beginning, like right when you're almost starting out. That's what I do. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about before I hop into just the how-tos, right, the tasks, is understanding that, one, attaining wealth doesn't just start with building millionaire habits. It starts with building a wealth attracting mindset. So I'll go over that a little bit. You got to understand that your job is oftentimes going to be the first investor in your business and your financial future. So understanding how to tap into that. I'm going to go over some examples of a couple of wealth building assets and how to position yourself to acquire them. And I actually think I think that third one I kind of tweaked it a little bit, but don't worry, I'll still hit that. Okay. And then I want to go over 3 questions to ask yourself to determine if you'll be remembered more for your legacies or for your liabilities. Because you can go to the next slide. We all know that, listen, we all know how to always say this, that, you know, I learned how to get myself into 6 figures worth of debt, right, by signing on the dotted line. But no one taught me how to make 6 figures. No one taught me how to grow a 6-figure portfolio. No one taught me how to grow a business to 6 figures, right? And so those are the things that we learn. But one of the things on my journey as a money and business coach that I learned is right, and everybody knows, it all starts with your mindset. All right. So this is the conversation when I literally just had this, I kid you not, 2 days ago. Okay. 2 days ago. And I don't know if the person's on the call. Okay. But I had a consultation 2 days ago and it went like, it said, hey, I bring in, let's say, multiple 6 figures, right? And I know that I need to have a trust. I need to have a holding company. I know I need to be doing this. I need to have this type of insurance. I need to have that and this and that. And I'm like, there's other stuff, but you don't have a budget in place, right? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have a retirement account, right? And so sometimes we want to jump, but man, I kind of wrangle you back a little bit. So first things first, I always ask things relative to mindset when I'm sitting down with a person. And what we need to make sure that we're doing is recognizing our relationship with money, right? Just recognize that first. How did you grow up? Right? Did you grow up in an environment where money was scarce? Did you grow up in an environment, in a household where you know, you saw either your parents, grandparents, whoever raised you being creative with money? Did you grow up in a household where, you know, money was in abundance, or at least there was a constant rhetoric around money being in abundance? How did you grow up? Because those things are important. They impact you in adult life, right? What were your most impactful examples when it came to money? Was it your parents? Was it one parent over another? Was it your grandparents, right? Was it your siblings, right? Was it the neighborhood dope man? Who was it? Okay, we need to know this. You need to know this because you got to understand that contributed to your programming, and you can make as much money as you want to. But if you don't understand that, as you know, Jan Levanzant says, if you don't understand the pathology, right, of your relationship with money, that's going to, there are various mistakes that you will make along the way that could be avoidable. Now, there are mistakes that's going to be made for all of us, but there are some things that, again, you just want to make sure that you are aware of. And then lastly, just how does that play out for you today? Does that play out in terms of you having some anxiety when it comes to making large purchases? I know that's something that even I had to recognize in myself. Does it play out today in terms of you maybe having limited transparency in your finances, right? Whether it's with a financial professional, whether it's within your relationship, you don't like to say how much is in your account. You don't like to, say if you're having a money challenge. Right? Does it play out today in that you have a need for control? Does it play out in you wanting displays of affluence without actually having affluence? Right? So it's just a matter of understanding those things, and then go about shifting or adjusting that money mindset, beginning to read books, The Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Psychology of Money, things like that. Those are books that will just give you different perspective. And then finally, understanding the difference between rich versus wealthy, right? Understanding really, really what those, and we'll talk about goals a little bit, but understanding even just those two components, rich, and I think I posted this on my page a couple of days ago, or maybe last week, that rich is measured by how much you actually earn. Right? Rich simply means that you make a lot of money by working either in your full-time job or in self-employment, right? So you could be a doctor making $300,000 versus a retail worker that makes $30,000. The doctor is seen to be more rich, right? Okay, versus wealthy. Wealth is not measured by how much you actively make. Instead, it's measured by how much time your money can buy you without actively working. Okay, so for example, a person is able to live off of 5 years of savings versus a person able to live off of only 1 month of savings, right? And that is not a person that can live off of 5 versus a person that can live off of 1. Do you understand that doesn't mean, just because they make 300,000, they're able to live off of 5 years worth of living? No, a person could be very, very good with their money, could only make, let's say 60, 70,000, but have saved enough and have been disciplined enough to be able to live off of that. So they technically have more wealth than the person that makes more income than them. Excuse me. You can go to the next slide. All right, so understanding those things is so important. And then, all right, we have to begin to increase our financial awareness. And so it's really hitting the fundamentals. So what is your personal money management system? Do you understand? And it's fun. I love that, Shanae, that you went over that, because, you got to understand, you are your first business. Right? You are your first business. So how do you manage yourself? How do you manage the money that comes to you personally? And that's having discipline and a foundation, and that is going to actually help you when it comes to learning how to manage the money that comes into your business. So what is your personal money management system? Do you know how much you bring in? Right? Do you know how much you spend? This is where you are building out. What are your budgeting systems? Like she said, do you use a spreadsheet? Do you use a tracking app? What do you use? Right? What are the different accounts that you have? Do you have an account that's that's solely for your fixed expenses? Do you have another one that's for your variable expenses? Do you have another one that's for your emergency fund? Do you have another one that's for your retirement account? Do you have another one that's for your sinking funds? What is the structure of your personal money management system? Is there automation in there, right? Do you audit that system, right? Let me tell you, I constantly, well, not when I say constantly, I mean just regularly, actually. So maybe about once or twice a month, I'm looking back at the money that was taken out of my account, because a lot of stuff is automated. How many people, and you guys can put it in the chat box, how many of you, it was months later that you realized they just took like $200 out of my account, right? $300, $100, $50, and I didn't even notice it, right? You might not have even noticed when something Ashley said me. Listen, I understand. Come on, Amazon Prime, especially those subscriptions, y'all, okay? So it's those basics. It's just getting an audit of your system, because essentially when you have a business, guess who's going to be auditing your business finances? you and Shania, right? Or you and the CPA, right? A tax professional that you are working with. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. Understanding how much you owe versus how much you own. So really beginning to think in terms of net worth, not just, oh, I know what my checking account and my savings account balance is. No, I know what my net worth is. That's you beginning to gain some level of financial awareness, right? Employer benefits. So maximizing your employer as your first investor. So especially for my pivoters, especially for, for folks that are doing things that, beyond just their full-time job, it's, capitalizing on the fact that your job is paying for healthcare, right? Maximize that, right? Financial security, things like your 401k plan, making sure that you're getting matches, or you're maxing out on what they're allowing you to put away, right? They sometimes your employers give you even lifestyle perks, right? They may pay for your gym membership. They may pay for transpo. Guess what? The great thing about that is that's taken out of your personal budget. Let that job pay for that, okay? So maximizing where possible. And then the other thing is, what are your financial goals? I know you want to do this, and I know you want to do that. And, again, you want to put the trust in place because somebody said so, and you want to, and flip, and you want to do all these things, but what do you want? Where are you at now? What do you want? Do you understand where you are going? Because that's going to help us put a plan together to help you reach the financial goals that you want to reach. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So one way to kind of think about this is, let's think in terms of retirement planning. And sometimes I'll say, I try to steer clear of the word retirement, because sometimes people think, 60s, 70s. Sometimes I'll say work optional, right? Whenever you want to make work optional. So whether you want to go the FIRE movement, right? Financial independent, retire early movement, you want to do regular retirement, and Dylan said as soon as possible, please. Okay. Whichever strategy that you're on, we got to break down the targets first, and then we'll reverse engineer this thing to work backwards so that we know what we need to do. So how much do you want to be living on per year? Let's figure that out. How much do you want to be living on per year? So let's say that you said, all right, 60, you want to be able to live off of 60,000 a year. You'll be fine, right? You'll be able to do a little bit of travel, a little bit of something else, right? So that means that you need to have 1.5 million invested, right? Hypothetically, you need to have about 1.5 million invested. So now the conversation is, how quickly can we, right, to Dylan, to your point of as soon as possible, well, how quickly can we get to 1.5 million invested? We want to do that in 10 years? We want to do that in 20? 30, what do we want to do that in? And so now that we can figure that out, now we get to strategy. Now with the financial planner, right, what I do with my clients, I say, okay, now we can assess, all right, what's your risk tolerance, right? Based on the vehicle, the investment vehicle that we're going to choose, how much can you stomach, right? How much up and down can you stomach? Some people want to be all, 100% in crypto, but your stomach can't handle crypto, right? And I would never suggest that. But anyways, you know what I'm saying, okay? But so one thing we have to determine is, what is your risk tolerance? Another thing is, again, do you understand volatility? The fact that things go up and down, right? What's your time horizon? What's your investing philosophy, your investing strategy? Do you want a phased retirement? Again, fire retirement? You want a 30-year plan? Which one are you on? Those are the conversations that I have. At least it helps to give structure. And I promise you, I've had enough clients to where they say, listen, when I came to you, I was kind of all over the place, right? But they feel way more confident. When you work with a planner, that's, I think, one of the biggest things. And I love hearing that. I love it when my clients reach their financial goals. I love it. And I love to see them just have a different kind of swag around their money, right? And the confidence in the goals that they do attain. I have clients, we did our Q4 planning, in anticipation of this next year. And it's just different. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. No, I want to do that. No, we're going to hit that. We're going to hit 6 figures in that. We're going to buy another property. I love seeing that. That gets me excited. I cheerlead my clients. So, right. So once we figure those things out, then we'll figure out the vehicles. You want mutual funds, index funds, ETFs, stocks, private equity, crypto, right? You want some cash flowing assets. Maybe we got to do real estate, dividend stocks. Is it in your business? Do we have business goals? that's when we can then figure those things out. But if I don't know where we're going, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time. And then finally, with this last point of this slide is just understanding, once you have those conversations, you also can, Eshanae talked about, you can begin to consider the other things that are going to come into play, including tax strategies to minimize your tax liabilities, right? And also the role of leverage, right? And so we talk about, cash flow, credit, right? Debt management, how much cash you'll need. Hey, are we tapping into other people's money? All those types of conversations are able to come into play when we at least have had a conversation and have strategy. You can go to the last slide for me. And finally, so that's all. I call that the sexy stuff, right? Everybody kind of always wants to jump to the sexy stuff, but I said we gotta have the foundational conversations first, right? About your mindset, some of the basics we gotta talk to, we gotta speak to and get in place. Man, I promise you, I always tell people, listen, we will get to the sexy stuff, but we got to go to the boring stuff, because it's the boring stuff that's gonna help you leave a legacy. Okay, it's that, right? It's gonna help to catch you, right? It's gonna be your safety net when a recession happens, right? When COVID happens, right? Those are things, it's the boring things that you didn't really want to do. You kind of want to skip it. That's why, hey, that's why I'm here. We're here. A lot of your A team is here for you. So lastly, legacy. Everybody wants to, right? Generational wealth, right? Building a legacy. Well, I want to make sure that you do that. And so what you want to think about is, how will you be remembered? The way that you are set up right now, how will you be remembered? Will you be remembered by your legacy, or will you be more remembered by your liabilities, right? Think to yourself, imagine that life ended abruptly right now, and tomorrow the world will be without you, okay? I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. What responsibilities and commitments would be left dangling? Okay, another question is, and what messes, concrete or emotional, would you want to have sorted out? Okay. And then finally, if you have assets, does your family even know where to find them? Okay. Those are the types of conversations that we have. Again, one component of financial planning is estate planning, for example, but even just having conversation, I just group a lot of that stuff into our legacy planning conversation. So it's having those conversations. I know there's what was it, PNB Rock, right? If we think of pop culture right now, PNB Rock, a young, right, hip hop artist, passed away unexpectedly. Was he in his late 30s or in his late 20s, or is in his 30s? But a girlfriend just came out and said, nope, he does not have life insurance. He did not have a will. He did not have trust. He was so young, we didn't think that we needed to even think about that. Right? Chadwick Boseman, right? God rest his soul. It came out, I don't believe he had I believe it was a will that he did not have. It might've been both. If you're familiar, Takeoff, right, of the Migos, did not have any of that stuff in place, right? And it's not just the younger people, right? We remember Prince, right? We remember Aretha Franklin, Robin Williams. People are passing, and their legacies are just not as in place. We're putting things that, we want it, right? We want it to be there. We want to be able to say, yeah, my son's going to get this. My daughter's going to get this. My niece is going to get this. My parents are going to get this. But it's not in place. And so again, the last thing of this, or the point of this exercise, is just you understanding, man, legacy planning is so important. It's a key aspect to financial planning. One of the things that we talk about, asset protection, estate planning, and it's just about being intentional. I always tell people the goal is to not have your family restart the race, and we can't get upset and bothered that other affluent families that you've heard of, Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Waltons, and so forth. We can't get mad that that your kids know their last names, but they don't know what the legacy is on your last name. That's one thing. And the second thing that we can't get mad at is that they have positioned their family so that they don't have to restart the race. And we want to say, oh, well, they're spoon-fed and they're given things. Well, isn't that partly the point? Isn't that partly the point? That has nothing to do with them learning humility or, learning, how to honor people and be respectful. That's just making sure that financial positioning wise, they are in place. Isn't that what we want to do? Right? We can't look down on that, right? Don't you want to spoon feed your kids, right? Or a silver spoon? I don't know, you know what I mean, right? And
don't you want your kids to have the silver spoon? When do you have one of the silver spoon? Like, let's take it there.
Why did there's no, listen, I'm anti get it out the mud. Just FYI, I'm part of the anti get it out the mud movement. That is not cool. Okay. It's not cool. Anyways, listen, I'm gonna go ahead because I know I have to yield. I'll talk all day, but hopefully that helped. That is what I do when it comes to financial planning.
And Njideka, could you go over like this has been so awesome. Can you go over kind of the same questions that Shania answered of like how to think about when the right time to work with a financial advisor is, and then also how to think about budgeting? It's a question that I'm asking for myself as well.
Asking for a friend.
Right, asking for a friend. No, working with a financial planner, I think that's one of the things that discourages people because they're like, I don't make enough money to. Do you bring in income? Right? I mean, I think relatively speaking, let's just say maybe 25, 30K plus. I know even with myself, look, I do free consultations. Okay. You could literally go click the link in my bio on Instagram. It's n.o.theculturecfo. Okay. But you can literally go and click the link in my bio and set up a free consultation. And I'll at least, listen, I will hear you out and give you some guidance and direction to see if there's anything additional that you need to do. But I don't think that sometimes I think what psychs people out is that they think that they need to be making a minimum amount. Do you bring in income? Do you bring in income? Is there anybody that's dependent on you? Those are some key, things to think about. But 25, 30K and up, I'll at least say that much.